out here. Check it out. Yeah, check it out. Yeah, it's an abacus. No. There, good. Let me try it. Oh, no, nice and easy. Okay. So, you can do just about everything but add and subtract with this device. And this is, I'm going to show you. This is called the slide rule. Okay? And you can multiply, you can divide. You're going to be an engineer, I know it. Okay? Easy, easy. That's okay. He's good. Yeah. Yes. And you could get as far as 2 decimal points with this. Okay? And you could multiply, divide, do square root. You could wrap pi, all the equations of pi. You can do things that have tables like trigonometry and calculus, but you can't add and subtract. And you're not supposed to drive while you're doing this. But this is what put the man on the moon and got it back. This is what designed all of the nuclear weapons that we have. This is what was used to design everything that's in this Nike missile system. There weren't any calculators. People would have died with Texas Instrument calculator, those battery eaters. And you can't bring this to your college boards. You'll have to take them over. This is a slide rule. You can look it up, Google it. They use these different scales for different types of processes, but 2 decimal points. But if you want to add and subtract really fast, here you go. Now they have a Japanese version of this too, this Chinese abacus. So that's how they did things back then. No batteries. This belonged to one of my volunteers, and this belonged to his grandmother. I have a lot of people that are engineers here. One of them works for Lockheed, senior engineer down there. You really? Too? Yeah. You know, you work there? You know Tom Chu? He was working on the lunar lander. He didn't tell me until after they got the bid. He goes, because he wasn't supposed to. No, he couldn't. But he goes, oh, I'm so glad we got the bid. He goes, I spent a month on that. But he's really talented. So that's the man. Now, what we have here is a Nike Ajax missile cutaway. The Ajax had a range of 25 miles. That's okay. It's good when people have a good time here. Yeah, no problem with that. Hey, what do you think? Okay? Got enough water. Earthquake, maybe? No? This has 3 bombs. One there, one here. You can see the primer, simulated material, and a shape charge in the front. So this was given a burst command. These are the antennae. You see the little silver knobs? 2 of them are antenna, 2 of them are transmitters. So when it exploded, and think about this. They started with guns. It was called the air defense artillery. They had like projectiles that would go through a large, long barrel. They started with 70 millimeter diameter, then they went to 90, and as you go up in diameter, you also go up in altitude. But the airplanes were also going up higher in altitude, and it went up higher than the guns could reach. So they finally wound up with 120 millimeter guns with radar direction, which is like duck hunting with the radar. It points the barrel to where it thinks the duck's going to be. So the projectile and the duck intersect. Okay? Well, the Army got the Nike Ajax missile because they had experience with the radar direction. And they had real estate. So this came into play. This had a range of 25 miles, and instead of directing a barrel, now you're directing a bullet, a very large one. And this explodes just before it's going to hit the target. There's the target right there. So they would go down, they'd send these soldiers down to White Sands, New Mexico with a very short notice. They'd tell the commanding officer here, Thursday we want your best people down there, and we're going to have a test. And that's called the SNAP, a short notice annual practice. So they'd go down there, they'd troubleshoot a system and assemble it, and then the range safety office would see if they troubleshot it right. Then they might get a missile to shoot, and they'd shoot a missile at an arbitrary point in space or a radio-controlled aerial target like that. They'd be evaluated on all the procedures, and come home with their report card. So there was a lot of things you had to remember in these tests, and it had to be done exactly, and even the talking on how they went about it to communicate with each other had to be in a scripted scenario. So all of that was evaluated. They come home with their report cards and go back and do it again next year. A very important test. Your career might be contingent on your crew passing that test. So they test fired 25,000 of these things. That would be booster sled tests, Ajax missiles, and Aegis missiles. So for 20 years, if you were here for 3 or 4 years, you had 3 or 4 or 5 live firing experiences. Everyone knew what to expect. Now, someone asked me a question about training. The soldiers, before they got to come here, they had to pass an FBI security background test, which meant the FBI would go to their schools and go to their neighborhoods and ask questions about what type of citizens they were. If they passed that, then they got a chance to go to missile school. Before they would even be a candidate for missile school, they would look at the overall test scores that they had to when they joined the Army. They take a battery of tests, almost like college boards tests, and they wanted to determine if that person had enough skills to educate themselves. Because they didn't want to spend the money on the school and have them walk out. So you went to missile school. If you graduated from missile school, you yourself went on to an advanced school. If you just passed, then you might come to a place like this. And then you would be under the tutelage and supervision of a senior person that had experience with the system. They didn't, because they had turnover, a lot of turnover, a lot of people that really didn't have any experience with missiles other than being in school, which a little knowledge is really a dangerous thing with nuclear warheads. So that was, and everything was done exactly according to the book. Hi, welcome to the Nike site. We're just starting our tour. And we're going to go up into the Missile Storage Magazine and see where the missiles are. I'm going to raise it into launch position because I'm fielding such wonderful questions today. So, hey, how do you like it here? So far, so good. There's nothing here that's going to explode, that's going to radiate, that is, that we have to worry about, other than the elevator, and I'll tell you about that when we get there. So.
I was talking about the on-site training. I know it's indispensable, right? Someone who's in charge of, setting up the missile. So it's my conflict too. So what happens then?
Well, they had a lot of backup. And they had two crews. They had that had 24 on, 24 off. So if someone was sick and couldn't perform, the other person got 24 on, 24 off, or someone to back it up. Yeah, they were very, if anything, overtrained. And the soldiers only learned one small part of it. They weren't allowed to try and learn the whole thing. No, they just had little windows. It wasn't, I was in the Coast Guard, and in the Coast Guard, as an engineer, as an electrician, you learn everything. You learn how to transfer fuel, you learn how to light off the ship, you learn how to stand throttle lock, parallel generators, you do everything that needs to be done in engineering, because you might have to get underway with a third of the crew, and they do. The whistle blows in the column. So if that boat doesn't work, it doesn't start, and they need it to start, the small engineer's like, you bet it better be working.
I believe with missiles and all, it's doing potions, right?
They just had these small windows, and they didn't do because, I don't know why, but it would have drove me crazy. But,
it's very intricate, actually. The Bradley, had different modules.
They weren't allowed to ask questions about what other people did.
Yeah.
They could only stay within their sphere of knowledge, and they were required to turn in people that were being too inquisitive. There's no fooling around. It was real serious business, but it was the same thing day in, day out. Like working in a Ford factory.
They said this was the missile assembly area?
Yes.
So they came transported and separate?
This is a warhead shipping container, and this is a 1,600-pound high explosive bomb here. That we're trusting a faded stencil that says RT. That missile that was on the trailer would be wheeled in that door. They'd use that chain wall, that bracket right there to stick a fuel cell into that fuselage, and they pick this up with that bracket, bolt it to that, bolt it to the back, take the collar off, wheel it out of here and put a booster on it in the exclusion area. I bet you don't see 750-watt light bulbs every day.
I'm gonna go turn those things off.
We don't have any money in the park.
I was gonna say, no, that's TFL.
But they were the original